Hey everybody, today I'm going to review Ryobi's brand new QuietStrike Oil Impulse Impact Driver, which is the newest tool in their 18 volt lineup. And unlike a traditional impact driver that you probably already own, this one is going to be a lot quieter due to the mechanism they have inside. It's running off oil, being hydraulic pressure to create those impacts. And unlike a typical version that would have a hammer and anvil style, very similar to a mechanic's impact wrench, this does not have any metal on metal contact, meaning if you're using it in a room like this or a confined area, it's going to be a lot more pleasant to use. Now, in addition to that, it's going to be just as powerful and just as fast as a standard impact driver. But when we take into account those noise levels, it would be a big upgrade. So what I want to do in this video is give you some closer-up looks at this. We'll see how it compares side by side with a typical unit, and then we're going to do testing with it, and you'll be able to see firsthand the type of performance that it's going to give you. Here's a closer look at the QuietStrike, and I want to point out right off the bat that this green portion you see is very hard plastic. The gray portion extending around the rear, the side bumpers, as well as around the grip is made out of a softer rubber overmold. If you also notice at the base of the grip, I have the belt clip installed for right-handed use. But if you are left-handed, you can remove these two screws, move the belt clip to the opposite side, and it would be set up for left-handed use. The other thing to note, this is sold as a bare tool, meaning it does not include a battery pack or a charger. So if you're not already part of Ryobi's 18 volt ONE+ lineup, you would need to pick those up separately in order to use this. The chuck is a standard 1/4-inch hex quick release chuck, meaning you don't need to pull anything back to install or remove bits. Just line your bit up, press it in place, and it will be locked in place. And then when you're done using the bit and you want to change it, just pull the collar forward and the bit's going to pop right out. Surrounding the chuck are 3 different LEDs that will automatically cut on anytime you press it on the trigger. Now, unlike some things like a drill or an impact driver that might have an LED on the front that would allow you to just barely press on the trigger, activating the LEDs without activating the chuck, that is not going to be possible in the QuietStrike. As soon as the LEDs cut on, you'll notice that the chuck does start turning. And even though it is turning very slowly, it is still going to be moving on you. That could make it harder to line something up in a dark situation. The other thing to note, as soon as we release the trigger, the lights immediately cut off and they do not have a time delay. Like any of the other tools in Ryobi's 18 volt ONE+ lineup, the battery is going to slide right in the bottom, and it is a post style. Now, this is really a universal fit no matter what battery you're using in the Ryobi 18 volt ONE+ lineup. So let's say you have an older NiCad pack like this. It's going to power it exactly the same way as that high capacity version or even one of the compact units. At the base of the grip, you'll notice a magnetic symbol as well as bit storage on the front. So when you're not using a bit, you can go ahead and click it in place right here. That will hold it in place and you won't lose it. But let's say you're up on top of a ladder. Rather than have to carry around a handful of screws with you, you can stick those on that little magnetic tray. And then even if you turn it upside down, they're not going to go anywhere on you. So that is very useful when you are up on top of a ladder or you don't want to carry around screws or fasteners or even additional bits with you. The magnetic tray will hold them in place and you won't have to. This is a single speed impact driver, and you'll control how fast the motor's turning and how much power is being applied by how hard you press it on the variable speed trigger. It has a range of 0 to 3200 RPMs and 0 to 2200 impacts per minute. If you want to go very slow and apply minimum power, then you would barely press it on the trigger. And then of course, to apply max power, you would press on it all the way. To change the directions, just above that trigger is a directional change mechanism. Sliding it all the way to the left will put it in forward. Sliding it all the way to the right will put it in reverse. And then the center portion is actually a trigger lock that will prevent you from accidentally activating the tool as you store it or transport it. Impact drivers are very efficient at driving very long fasteners like these 3-inch deck screws. I'll go ahead and put 2 of these into these stacked 2x4s, and you'll see just how quick we can install them. So much faster than, let's say, a typical drill that might stall out or not have enough power. With an impact driver, you can install something like this very quickly and efficiently. Comparing the size of the QuietStrike with the standard single-speed impact driver, you can see that although they are both roughly the same height overall, the QuietStrike is going to be longer. Now that has a completely different mechanism inside, which is why it's longer overall, with the single speed being the shorter of the two and able to fit in more tight and compact areas. However, if we look at a standard 18-volt drill right next to the QuietStrike, the drill is still going to be much longer than it. So if you're using both of these and you can fit the drill in somewhere, the QuietStrike is not going to have any issues. But if we compare the QuietStrike to another tool that has that oil impulse technology, being the rigid Stealth Force impact driver, you can see exactly what the size difference between the two of these is. Although the Ryobi is not quite as tall as the rigid, both having 4 amp-hour battery packs, the length would be a big advantage with the Stealth Force because it is going to be shorter overall. The main advantage of the QuietStrike will be the noise levels and how much lower they are than a standard version that's going to be very loud. To test that out, I've taken a digital decibel meter, mounted it roughly 2 feet away from this piece of wood, and we're going to take these 3-inch deck screws and drive them into this piece of wood. The first screw is going to be with the QuietStrike. The second screw is going to be with the standard single-speed impact driver, and you'll be able to see what the difference is between the two. So I'm going to hit the max button. That's going to lock it in at whatever the maximum rating is. The first one, like I said, will be with the QuietStrike, and then we'll see what the jump is in noise levels compared to the single speed. So using the QuietStrike, we're roughly at 89 decibels. And now using the single speed, we'll see what the difference actually is. So although the speed of the two tools is roughly the same, the single speed that's not a QuietStrike is going to be much louder. For larger fasteners like this SPAC screw that does require a nut driver attachment, it's also very efficient. It's going to drive it in wood very quickly, and the good thing is it does not have a lot of vibrations going back into your hand and back into your wrist. To test the performance with a very long fastener, I have a 10-inch long Timberlock wood screw, and we're going to be putting that through 3 stacked pressure-treated 4x4 posts. When we hold it up to the side, you can see that the screw will extend almost completely through all 3 posts. This will give you a good idea as far as the speed and performance levels when you're dealing with a very long and large fastener. So although it's not extremely fast putting in a tremendously long fastener like this, it was able to sink it all the way, and it didn't have any problem bottoming it out. Now for a runtime test, I have a fully charged 4 amp-hour battery pack. We're going to be putting 3-inch coated deck screws into stacked pressure-treated 2x10s. 273 3-inch coated deck screws into stacked pressure-treated 2x10s on one 4 amp hour battery charge. So now you've seen Ryobi's brand new QuietStrike oil impulse impact driver for yourself. And this is really designed for the DIYer or homeowner in mind. And using those 3-inch coated deck screws, we got a massive amount of work done on just one charge. Now, although we were using the high capacity 4 amp hour pack, because this is part of Ryobi's 18 volt 1 Plus lineup, it's compatible with all the other batteries and chargers in that lineup, meaning if you had a compact version or even the older NiCad packs, they will power this exactly the same way. Now, the big advantage of the QuietStrike will be the noise levels. They're greatly reduced over a standard impact driver. And even though it is going to be slightly longer than their typical version, if you are working indoors and noise is a concern, this is definitely the one that you would want to pick up. Now, these are going to be available exclusively at the Home Depot, and they do carry a 3-year warranty against manufacturer defects. So if you happen to run into a problem with it during that time frame, if you contact Ryobi, they will fix or replace it for you free of charge. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.